What is up, everyone, and welcome to Now, Next, Never. I'm Nicole Casperson, and with me, as always, hanging out are my co-hosts Alana Saparu and Zaid Admani. Guys, we got a lot to get through. Zaid, tee us up.
Yeah, we got three great stories. There's some beef in Disney, beef between the two Bobs. Bob Iger, the previous CEO, and Bob Chapek, the new CEO. We're going to talk about what that means. Uber and Lyft, are they ever going to turn a profit? We're going to discuss. And then, do you believe in Amazon? Amazon just signed Al Michaels to host Thursday Night Football. We're gonna talk about how that impacts sports rights. Delano.
Zaid, are you ready for some football? But before we go to football, are you ready for more of Now, Next, Never? We're super excited to talk about all those topics and what it means for your investments, for your money, for your bank account. So we're gonna cover all of that. Before we get into it, make sure you like and subscribe to our channel so you stay tapped in with us, and also hit the notification button so you know every time we're going live, because guess what? We're getting to the show right this second. All right, our first topic, guys. We are talking Disney, the magical Disney. Are they in trouble? There seems to be trouble inside Disney. There was a CNBC report of a battle between the two Bobs, a beef between the two Bobs. All right, Bob Iger, who was the former CEO, who passed on his job to his successor, Bob Chapek. And there has been a report that there was they surmised that there was a little bit of beef between them. And there's also, obviously Disney as a whole has been in battle right now. They had a little bit of the differences there. One of the differences is how Bob Chapek has actually looked at and handled a proposed legislation in Florida, right? And they're talking about allowing people, educators, to talk about sexual orientation after third grade. So that is something that Bob Chapek was slow to come out and talk about. So from my standpoint, I think Disney is a company that obviously has some battlements and problems, but in the long term, I believe it can only go up. It's in a situation where they've had the worst things happen, where it cuts as far as negative news flow, and now the company is going through a change where their parks are rebounding. They've had streaming growth, which has slowed. I think things get better and they don't get worse. But what do you guys think? Do you guys think things get worse before they get better in Disney? Nicole, I'll go with you first.
Okay, all right. After reading this story by CNBC, it looks like really that power trip between the two CEOs, and then just more power struggles between other heads of strategy and their, head of Disney TV. And so there's a ton to work out. I do think that it gets worse before it gets better. There are two main characteristics of great leadership: a clear vision and authentic communication. And Chapek is doing not the best job with both areas. So, it's not all the time that the best operators end up being the best faces of a company that has such a cult following. People love Disney. Like, they grow up with Disney like we all did, right? And so I just think that Disney needs to kind of find its footing again and remember the message that it wants to give the public, right? Like, it's this magical place where you get to, get lost in storytelling and all of those things. And I think all of that is getting lost with drama between, their male CEOs or prior CEOs and all that good stuff. And let me just throw it out here. Let me just throw out a quick idea. What if Disney had a female CEO for the first time in their near 100-year history? They already have Susan Arnold as chair and Christine McCarthy as the first female CFO, so why not make it a trifecta? Just an idea, guys.
Yeah, it's a great idea. I think that Disney gets worse before it gets better. I'm going to hit you guys with some stats here, okay? So according to the New York Stock Exchange, Disney stock was down over 10% in 2021 last year, right? Which is especially bad given the fact that the S&P 500 was up over 25% last year. Delano, you mentioned Disney parks have rebounded, obviously, since the pandemic. They've made a rebound. I was actually at Disneyland last October. It was packed. It was insane. The prices are absolutely insane. They're getting higher. And I think this is what Bob Chapek is dealing with right now. Obviously, he's slow to react to the political stuff that Bob Iger, the previous CEO, was really on top of, right? And Bob Iger, he's a legendary CEO, one of the most admired CEOs of this millennium, and he has a really good book as well called Ride of a Lifetime. I highly recommend it. Bob Chapek is not able to deal with all these factors that comes with being the CEO of Disney. It's not just being a CEO of a public company. You're dealing, Nicole, you mentioned this, you're dealing with your shareholders, obviously, but you're also dealing with millions and millions of rabid fans. People have a very, very strong connection to Disney because they watch Disney content growing up. They've gone to the parks. There's just such a strong connection. And so the CEO has to be able to appeal to those people as well. And if you don't, you're gonna make them upset, and that's also gonna hurt your ability to continue being a great CEO. So Bob Chapek has that challenge. Now, he's been a very good operator. He was in charge of Disney parks before, so he's historically been a good operator. But I think he's too like corporate to really handle the role of being the CEO of Disney. You know, so I wonder if my opinion is I think things get worse. Bob Chapek is known to squeeze every last dollar. There's a lot of like YouTube videos of fans being really upset at him for raising the prices, of food inside the parks, for raising the prices of merch inside the park. And I've kind of been rambling on, but I've done a really big deep dive into stuff, mostly because I was a huge Disney fan. I am still a huge Disney fan. But I think that things get worse. I think that Bob Chapek might not get renewed as the CEO. His contract is expiring early next year. There's a good chance that if he can't figure this out and have a good turnaround this year, I don't think that he gets renewed as a CEO. And that's why I think Disney's going to go through a rough patch. But long term, I'm a huge Disney fan. I think they might be a $1 trillion company one day. There's a lot of upside. Their branding is one of the most recognizable brands in the world. And so I think they have a bright future, but some rough patches ahead.
Zayd, I love the fact that you're still a Disney fan and you didn't let go of that just yet.
Not
but
at all.
I think you made a good point, but I think one of the things we're missing is, yes, Chapek is more that left logical brain, that business analytical brain, and I think you need that in this time, right? Like Disney, as we mentioned, has gone through embattlement. They've gone through the stuff with streaming that's been a little bit, the growth has slowed on that side. But right now, the parks is a thing that a lot of the Wall Street and investors are looking at. It's like, how big is the parks rebound going to happen with things being opened up? We're not in past COVID, but we're in a more better life, through the throes of the pandemic. So how do you handle that? Are you able to raise prices, as you mentioned, in this inflationary period? Are you able to raise prices, increase profits for shareholders? And I think that's the side of things that they're going to. And maybe Chapek and his right-hand person is Kareem Daniel, somebody that went to has Stanford MBA. I think they're bringing those analytical people in to try to make sure the business numbers and the fundamentals are making sense here.
That's the problem, though.
Exactly.
The dude
You gotta
needs to kind of step back off of that, right?
Put the analytical people to the side, put them behind the scenes, all right? We get it, you gotta handle business, but like, put the person that's willing to put that magic back out there, right, of Disney, put them in the hot seat, make them the CEO, put them in the front, have them be open to, speaking out on things, whether it's political or social or whatever. Like, Disney needs to maintain that image, and so that's the problem here. I'd be curious what people think. Put it in the comments, is what's happening with the CEOs, like, do you care? Do you notice it? Is it something that, makes you not want to watch, the new Black Widow because Chapek called out Scarlett Johansson, and who does that? We all love ScarJo, so I'm confused about that one, but crazy.
No, totally, I agree.
Okay, so another big, I guess, culture following brand name out there, Uber, and not so much Lyft, are having a little bit of a pressure right now. They're to turn a profit as folks in big cities like New York and San Francisco shy away from apps in favor of yellow cabs and taxis. We love that here in New York. So to add more pressure, Lyft and Uber are following up on pledges that they both made in 2020 to electrify all of their US rides by the end of the decade. And guess what? California is holding them accountable with a new rule called the Clean Miles Standard. So if this happens, rideshare drivers who already don't make a ton of money would feel the brunt of that, and they may not be able to even afford an electric vehicle. So it feels like we're heading into a place where the rideshare era with, big names like Uber and Lyft might become obsolete. So that's crazy for me. I think about, I walk down the street in New York City and I don't hear people say, oh, let me call a taxi. I hear people say, like, let me call a Lyft, and maybe they stand on the side and like hail a cab if you're old school. I like to do that because movies and fun. But anyways, will rideshare companies ever be profitable?
Nicole, I don't know. I think it's going to take a while for any of these rideshare companies to be profitable. Look at Uber, for example. Last quarter, they did net income of $892 million, and a big portion of that was just from an investment sale, not from their core business. So, a lot of these companies rely on this being like their front, the ride sharing, those things being their front, maybe a loss leader in a sense, for them to scale and do other things. Obviously, Uber brought on Uber Eats. They've been doing some acquisitions in the Uber Eats division to kind of scale up that side of the business. So a lot of these companies are going to need to be kind of a do-all super app to ever reach profitability, because you're just not going to do it from ride sharing, because these are just like the margins just don't make sense in these type of businesses, right? It's just like I don't fully see how they can do it. I don't think it happens for a while. Definitely not right now in the near future.
I just don't see how the ride sharing model works anymore. I mean, obviously they're still going to exist, but you're not going to squeeze out a big profit from this. Because if you think about how it works, right? When you call an Uber and you pay for an Uber, let's say you pay $50 for an Uber, part of that money goes to the driver, part of that money goes to Uber. But it's so hard to really squeeze out the profit and keep prices low. The reason Uber was working before everyone was so excited about them was because they were operating at a loss, and they were able to do that because they had raised so much VC funding, and that's why we were able to take an Uber from Midtown to downtown for like $8 back in the day, those Uber pools. But you can't do that anymore because there's just so much. It's actually expensive to run these. There's so much fixed costs involved, and the problem is the switching cost for the users is so easy. You can take a Lyft or an Uber or a taxi. You're not married to one platform for any reason. So that's why I'm not sure if the rideshare model works at all. And I think for it to work, there's probably going to have to be consolidation, right? Maybe Uber has to buy Lyft, or someone else has to buy Lyft, and there has to be less players. But ultimately, they're going to have to raise prices, which is why I just don't see it happening. Now, Uber Eats is interesting, right? Uber Eats is actually a business model that might save Uber, because they're making Uber, the way Uber Eats makes money is because they take a cut from the restaurant. So when you order something from Uber Eats, they're charging the restaurant 20-30% of that order. They're also charging you delivery fee and also a service fee. So Uber Eats has a potential for saving Uber and making Uber a profitable business, but their actual ride sharing model, I'm not seeing that turning into a profit anytime soon or ever. Thankfully, or not thankfully, but for Uber, they actually shifted to Uber Eats, and that might save the company. Now, there's still some competition, though. Obviously, Uber Eats has DoorDash, but what we've seen from the numbers from DoorDash is that people are still utilizing food delivery, myself included, even after the pandemic, right? I think a lot of people thought that the food delivery was a nature of the pandemic. I don't know. I still use Uber Eats and DoorDash all the time. I think I got used to it during the pandemic, and I still do it. So I think that business model is sustainable.
I would pose a question. Okay, so there are very niche ride share apps. Okay, here in New York we have one called Revel, and it's just an EV fleet with only Teslas. So like if you want to impress, that hinge date that you want to take out for the first time, whatever, like you could use that. Do you think that something like that makes more sense, like a super niche like Lux rideshare, as opposed to like the daily use, or is it still kind of a dead business model?
Yeah, to me, I think there's obviously, I would love to see their numbers. Revel, I think, is private, obviously, so wouldn't be able to see it. But I think they're obviously still running at a loss. I think that's a potential acquisition target for something like these Ubers and Lyfts, and that helps them increase their economies of scale, helps them get closer to profitability. The way I see these models, the more and more market share you eat up, the closer you get to profitability. And I do think one of the biggest player in this space could do that much further down the line. It's just not going to be right now.
Yeah. No, I think there's still a lot of stuff to be figured out, and I think ride sharing is it's not. There's a lot to talk about there. All right, Al Michaels is signing a deal to broadcast Thursday Night Football on Amazon. Al Michaels, a legendary broadcaster. Seems like announcers are getting like more money than players nowadays. I think he's signing an 8-figure deal. I mean, that's insane. Ooh. I know. So he's signing over to Amazon. And what I'm really curious about is, like, Amazon's obviously investing a lot of money into Thursday Night Football. They bought the rights for it. Now they're getting an all-star cast for the broadcasting. But the ultimate question is this going to increase Prime subscribers? And can other streaming platforms stop Amazon's momentum? Because Amazon is on a mission to really build up their Prime Video platform. My personal opinion is that yes, it will. Now I'm in this football bubble, and I'm gonna look forward to get Nicole's taken a little bit because she's not in a football bubble like me and Delano are. But I'm in this football bubble, and I think it will, right? Like Thursday Night Football, I already had Amazon Prime because I'm addicted to Amazon. But if I didn't, I would 100% sign up for Amazon Prime now to watch Thursday Night Football. Al Michaels being there, that doesn't matter to me that much, but I'm pretty sure there are some people out there that have been watching football their entire lives, people maybe in their 40s and 50s, having Al Michaels there maybe is like a signal to them that, okay, this is a legitimate platform to watch football, not just some startup who's like trying to get into the football game. This is Al Michaels here, and Al Michaels being attached to that streaming name, it probably helps Amazon kind of get more subscribers that might have been like hesitant in the beginning. So to me, smart move. I think it will help Amazon gain more subscribers. And I feel bad for other streamers because Amazon's business model is so different than other streaming platforms. Amazon's not trying to like sell advertising all the time. They're trying to get you to subscribe to Amazon Prime so you can take advantage of other things, like they're obviously 2-day shipping and things like that. So Amazon has a totally different incentive compared to these other streamers. So I feel bad for these other streamers because I don't know how they're going to compete with Amazon. Delano, our other resident sports fan, what do you think, man?
Zayd and Nicole, I don't know if you know this, but I played college football, so I never got to levels of obviously the NFL, but I love watching. It's the greatest sport in the world to me. And I think it's the greatest sport in the world to a lot of other people. If you think about it, why did the NFL, they gave us Sunday, right? That was supposed to be a football day. Then it's like, hey, let's throw on a Monday night. They're like, that's not enough. Let's throw on a Thursday night game. And that's what obviously Amazon bid for. I definitely think this increased the subscriber numbers for people that did not have Amazon Prime, but are NFL fans. They're definitely going to want to be watching, tuning in for any matchup that's on Thursday nights. I think what people are realizing is that this is just obviously one of the big plays in the streaming kind of competition is these live sports rights. And I think it's going to be divvied up from a lot of different people. But I think it's really an interesting play here. I think, what do the other players do? What does Netflix do? Do they stick with their model of just saying, hey, we're not going to do live sports. We're going to stick with the best, content that we can license or originally create. I think it has to make people question what's going on, because this is definitely a benefit to Amazon having, a Thursday night game that they got the rights for. I think it's incredible.
Yeah, it's so incredible that I have to ask the most important question of this live stream, and that is, Delano, where did you play college ball, and what did you do?
I played at the University of North Dakota, then transferred to University of Nebraska at Omaha. Look at my stats, folks. I'm not like Skip Bayless. I actually played a little bit. I had one interception as my true freshman year. Didn't even redshirt. I went out there cold. Not like LeBron, but I went out there cold, no redshirt. I just went out there and made a couple plays. Then I got injured a lot, so then don't look up the rest of my stats.
Everyone go look it up right now. I'm definitely after this. I gotta find it. I knew you played, but I didn't know exactly what, and so really interesting. But I guess So for someone sitting in the seat of like, this does not do anything for me, is understanding how many Zayd and Delanos are out there, basically, right? Like how many football fans that don't have Prime already are out there and saying, you know what, because of this, I'm gonna get Amazon Prime. This really does it for me. So is that niche enough to actually make the Prime subscription increase matter to the company at all? That is the huge question, and that's what I'm uncertain about. I mean, I guess you could maybe look at like how many people view football game stats and that kind of thing, and I'm sure it's massive, but is it enough? Because, there's still a whole other spectrum of people out there like yours truly who, this doesn't mean anything. Granted, I do still have a Prime subscription for other reasons, but it's not going to necessarily make me want to stream more on Amazon, so...
It's not just people that are trying to it's not just necessarily getting new subscribers, but also keeping the existing subscribers, right? Mm-hmm. So let's just say if you were on the fence and you're like, well, I'm not using Amazon that much, but now they have Thursday Night Football and you're a football fan. Well, I'll keep Amazon around for football season 4 or 5 more months, even if you're on the fence of canceling. So I think it's not, I think again, Amazon is a very, very strong position here. So I think this is a great move, and I'm excited to actually watch the production. And maybe hopefully they hit us with something new and innovative with the production, right, Delano? Because obviously we know the tried and true method of how football games are produced. I want them to bring something new to the table and kind of blow the doors off.
I would love to see that if they do something new. I think that there's a potential there. This is a four-way that they've not gone into this area before, so shaking it up a little bit would be a really good thing to do, really cool thing to do.
And I'm excited for the next version of Rihanna's Fenty fashion show via Amazon. That's going to get me really excited. So I will give Amazon that. I would have a Prime account for that reason. Moving on, that does it for our top stories. Now, let's look at Now Next Never, the stories that you should still be paying attention to. Delano, what is happening right now?
Nicole and Zayd, I have Now and Tesla. They just opened up a gigafactory in Germany. It's a play to kind of win back that European EV market. And Elon Musk was on hand. I don't know if we have any, graphics, but there was kind of, kind of talk on the internet that he was doing a couple of dance moves. Happy to be opening up look at that. Whoa!
Oh my.
You can only dance like that if you're a billionaire many times over and just do it freely. It's that flailing. Don't hurt a hip.
He's the best billionaire dancer in the world, right? Like,
fist pumping.
That's not bad at all. But he's got to be happy. He's got a reason to be happy. This marks the first time they have a factory, obviously in Europe. I think that before they were shipping a lot of their European sales over from China. So now this is an opportunity for Tesla to kind of make that big move in the EV market space and to keep Elon dancing. We like to see it. We like to see it.
I mean, I want to see Elon throw that rock at his bulletproof car window over and over again. When that happened, guys, years ago, I literally watched it on repeat because it was hilarious, despite my feelings about Elon Musk. But anyways, up next is me. Tennis superstar Naomi Osaka is jumping into the crypto craze. She's going to start creating content to get more women into Web3 specifically. So excited to see what that means exactly and what she ends up doing there. But latest celeb athlete to join the crypto fun. Interesting.
Nicole, I really like her, not just as a tennis player, just like her talk about mental health, but what she's going through. She'll be really open and honest about that. So I'm super excited to kind of see all the great things she's doing in this new space of hers.
Yeah, I'm a huge tennis fan. I'm a huge fan of hers, and yeah, I remember when she pulled out of the French Open a couple years back, and because of mental health reasons, and it was great to see that she's continuing that conversation. So, shout out to Naomi Osaka for moving things forward. I have never, and I kind of cheated here a little bit. I never expected a Goldman Sachs CEO to be playing Lollapalooza. This is not a joke. The CEO of Goldman Sachs, David Solomon, DJ D-Soul, apparently has DJ skills, and he's going to be playing at Lollapalooza in Chicago this summer. So honestly, I know I said it's in the never category, but I'd probably go check it out. I'd probably do. I don't know if you guys would or not, but I'd do it.
Big idea, guys. You don't have to have big ideas. DJ Soul, Elon Musk on the same stage, dancing, playing music. I don't know what would happen. I'll buy that ticket. I'm in on that.
Yeah. What? Anyway, I mean, I guess I don't know. This would be a never for me for other reasons. Zayd's like, it's a never expected. Whereas for me, it would be like a never going. Although I could imagine going just for like laughs. And then maybe I'd be pleasantly surprised, and he's actually a sick DJ. With,
apparently, he's really good.
Dope beats.
There's a lot of YouTube videos of him. Apparently, he's really good. And I think he's doing it for like a recruiting play here. I think he wants to seem cool to like 20-year-olds and 22-year-olds, so he can recruit them to work at Goldman Sachs and work them 110 hours a week. Yeah,
work 110 hours a week, but has a really cool CEO that DJs.
Exactly.
Might need to do a little bit more incentive, like gets into Lollapalooza for half the price or something like that. But anyways, that does it for our show today. Thank you so much for everyone that joined us. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, all the things. We want to hear from you. We want to connect. Until tomorrow, we'll see you then.
Peace.
Bye. Tune in every day and remember to like and subscribe and be sure to hit that notification button. See you tomorrow.